Nana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Ayala Madhava Gandhabihari Ayala Madhava Gandhabihari Gandhabihari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astatar Sada Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Iskan Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajagacharya Astatar Sada Shishimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sri Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Gangamai Ki Yamunamai Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Gaura Premanandi. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious the assembled devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Does anybody know what Brajajana Ranjana means? So this is the Jaya Radha Madhava quiz. Anyone not about Brajajana Ranjana? Any other proposals? You got it, okay. Ranjana means he gives pleasure. He gives pleasure to the residents of Vrindavan, yeah. So it's always good to know what we're singing. we don't go through that's the hardest part of that song. I think most of the rest of it we know. So we're reading Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the amazing book by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Yeah, he gives pleasure, yeah. Ranjana. So we're on Adi Lila, which is entitled, I believe, The Spiritual Masters, and chapter 1. And we're in text number 47. Is that? Okay. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shiksha Guru Ke Ta Jani Krishnera Svarup Antaryami Bhakta Shrestha E Due Rup Shiksha Guru Ke Ta Jane Krishner Sarup Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Please chant. Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Edoi Rup. Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Krishna Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Anybody else? Ladies? Krishna Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Do you want to chant? Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Svarup. Antaryami Bhakti Shrestha Edoi Rup. Synonyms: Shiksha Guru K, the spiritual master who instructs. Ta, indeed. Jani, I know. Krishna, of Krishna. Svarup, the direct representative. Antaryami, the indwelling supersoul. That actually comes from two words, anta, which means within, and yami, which means controller. So he's the inner controller. Bhakta Shrestha, the best devotee. These. Dui, two. Rupa, forms. Translation: one should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Godhead Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as a super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states that the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna himself teaches us as the instructing spiritual master from within and without. From within he teaches as Paramatma, our constant companion, and from without he teaches from the Bhagavad Gita as the instructing spiritual master. There are two kinds of instructing spiritual masters. One is the liberated person fully absorbed in meditation and devotional service, and the other is he who invokes this disciple's spiritual consciousness by means of relevant instructions. Thus, the instructions in the science of devotion are differentiated in terms of the objective and subjective ways of understanding. The Acharya, in the true sense of the term, who is authorized to deliver Krishna, enriches the disciple with full spiritual knowledge and thus awakens him to the activities of devotional service. When by learning from the self-realized spiritual master, one actually engages himself in the service of Lord Vishnu, functional devotional service begins. The procedures of this devotional service are known as abhideya, or actions one is duty-bound to perform. Our only shelter is the Supreme Lord, and one who teaches how to approach Krishna is the functioning form of the personality of Godhead. There is no difference between the shelter-giving Supreme Lord and the initiating and instructing spiritual masters. If one foolishly discriminates between them, he commits an offense in the discharge of devotional service. Srila Sanatana Goswami is the ideal spiritual master, for he delivers one the shelter of the lotus feet of Madana Mohan. Even though one may be unable to travel on the field of Vrindavan due to forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can get an adequate opportunity to stay in Vrindavan and derive all spiritual benefits by the mercy of Sanatana Goswami. Sri Govindaji acts exactly as the Shiksha Guru, instructing spiritual master by teaching Arjuna the Bhagavad Gita. He is the original preceptor, for he gives us instructions and an opportunity to serve him. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madana Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Srila Govindadev Vigraha. Both of these deities are worshipped at Vrindavan. Srila Gopinath is the ultimate attraction in spiritual realization. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Budale Smiti Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Nami Mistaya Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharineni Vasishuni Vadi Paschatya Reshtaneni Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatubhyascha Krpa Sindhubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Srila Prabhupada makes different points about the Guru in the purport, and we'll go through these one after another, and I have some quotes from other shastras which illuminate the position of the Guru. So he starts out by saying the instructing spiritual master is a bona fide representative of Sri Krishna. So that's how Krishna chooses to reveal himself through through his devotee. Actually, the devotees are the only people who understand Krishna. Krishna makes the point that only by bhakti can he be understood. Bhakti ma bhabijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvata tatomam tatvato gatva vishate dhadurantram. So only the people who actually engage in bhakti can actually know who Krishna is and enlighten other people about who Krishna is. So one has to accept a guru who is a devotee of the Supreme Lord. And Krishna makes that point in the first verse I ever learned from Bhagavad Gita, 4:34. Mahaprabhu, who organizes the Rath Yatra, taught me that verse 43 years ago. Tadvedi pranipatena pariprajnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshana. One should try to approach a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively, render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they've seen the truth. So basically one has to surrender to the Guru, one has to inquire from the Guru, one has to serve the Guru. Just like some companies, you can't buy from them directly, you have to go through their authorized salesman, right? So Krishna's like that. He has his authorized people that he wants you to go through. So Prabhupada makes the point that Krishna instructs us as a super soul, and he also instructs us through the instructing spiritual master who teaches Bhagavad Gita. So in the beginning we can't, because our consciousness is covered by material conceptions, we can't actually tune in to the super soul. Because when we look within, we just see our material contamination. So there's a nice verse about how we ultimately connect with the super soul, which I actually quoted to somebody yesterday on Harinam. There's this girl named Sam who was studying psychology. So I chose my most psychological verses. There's the verses that talk about how the mind is the best friend or the worst enemy. 5 and 6 of the 6th chapter, Dhyana Yoga. And then they culminate in 7, which is this verse. Chitatmana prashantaya paramatma samayita shitoshna sukadukeshu tatamana pamanyo. For one who's conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached, for he has attained tranquility. To such a man, happiness and distress, heat, cold, honor and dishonor are all the same. So the goal of the meditation is to conquer the mind so that we can get divine inspiration from the Lord in the heart. Many spiritual traditions understand that God is in the heart, but not everyone's heart is purified enough so that when they look within, they hear the voice of God. The guy who goes into a school with an automatic weapon and wipes out 20 people, he may say God told him to do it, but it's not actually a fact. That's what God wanted him to do. But his madness inspired him to do that. So in the beginning, we can't actually completely depend on what we get from within. But as we perform a devotional service, our consciousness becomes more and more purified, and we actually see what Krishna wants us to do from within. Therefore, Prabhupada talks about getting our inner inspiration confirmed by the spiritual master and by the devotees. So he talks about how the guru is authorized by Krishna. It's described in the Padma Purana that there's 4 what are called sampradayas, which are spiritual lineages, and one's supposed to accept a guru from one of these lineages. So they're the Brahma Sampradaya coming from Lord Brahma, and the Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva, and the Sri Sampradaya coming from Lakshmi, and the Kumara Sampradaya coming from the 4 Kumaras. And it's said that Sampradaya Vihina Ye Mantraste Nishpalamata. If you don't get the mantra from the bona fide Sampradaya, you don't get the fruit of the mantra. So the fruit of the mantra, as we say every morning, Ram Roy reminds us, the fruit of this chanting is love of Godhead. But if we're somebody who doesn't get the mantra from the Sampradaya, we won't get the fruit. So the Guru is authorized if he's coming in the Sampradaya. And some other qualifications of the Guru are listed in this Bhagavatam verse, which is quoted in the 7th chapter of the Nectar of Devotion. The 7th chapter, I think it's called Taking Shelter of the Spiritual Master. Let's see here. Accepting the shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, chapter 7 of Nectar of Devotion, starts out in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd chapter, verse 21. Prabhupada tells Maharaj Nimi, "My dear king, please know for certain that in the material world there is no happiness. It is simply a mistake to think that there is happiness here, because this place is full of nothing but miserable conditions. Any person who is serious of achieving real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of a spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusion of the scriptures by deliberation and arguments, and thus be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. Everyone should try to find such a bona fide spiritual master in order to fulfill his mission of life, which is to transfer himself to the plane of spiritual bliss." So here we learn that there's another plane. We're on the material plane, and the material plane is a plane of mixed happiness and distress. Everyone, it's described, Vishayendriya samyogad. Let's say, Vishayendriya samyogad, yat tag agre matopramam, parname visham iva, sukham rajasamsmritam. That happiness, which is born of contact between the senses and their objects, which is like nectar at the beginning and poison at the end, is said to be of the quality of passion. So, in material life, people are endeavoring for this material happiness, but it turns into material distress. There's another verse that goes, Karmana sukritasya satvikam nirmalam palam rajasas tu palam dukam agyanam tamasa palam. One in the mode of goodness, he becomes purified. One in the mode of sinful reactions, one in the mode of passion encounters distress, and one in the mode of darkness encounters foolishness or ignorance. So according to the Bhagavad Gita, the fruit of acting in the mode of passion is distress. Although this whole civilization is based on thinking that acting in the mode of passion will bring them happiness. According to Bhagavad Gita, acting in the mode of passion brings you distress. If you want to look up that verse, it's 14:16, I believe. But there is a plane of spiritual bliss, and the spiritual master is on that plane, and the people who encountered Srila Prabhupada, they could appreciate that he was on a different level. He was always in spiritual blissful consciousness. Nothing fazed him. He wasn't disturbed by the dualities of the material world. And the bona fide guru can bring his disciple up to that plane of spiritual consciousness. So, continuing, then Prabhupada talks about in the purport these different deities in Vrindavan. So in another purport, it's described in more detail that the three topics of the Vedic literature are related to these three deities. So Lord Chaitanya has explained that all the verses in the Vedic literature deal with three different topics. One is Sambandha, our relationship with Krishna. Another is Prayojana, the goal of that relationship, that love of God. And Abhyadeya, how we attain that goal. So the Madana Mohan deity is in charge of Sambandha. The idea that Madana Mohana means Krishna, the attractor of Cupid. So the idea is that we become attracted spiritually to Krishna, to the idea of awakening our love for Krishna. And so Sambandha means to understand our relationship with Krishna. Krishna is the supreme whole, and we're part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore our natural constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So the guru, the initiating guru, gives us this preliminary knowledge that we're different from our body, we're a spiritual spark, and we're actually a spiritual spark of Krishna, and instead of acting to satisfy the senses of the body in the mode of passion and encountering distress, we should engage our senses in the service of Krishna and have an eternal life full of bliss and knowledge. So the initiating spiritual master is described in this purport as being a representative of Madana Mohan who attracts us to Krishna and gives us this preliminary knowledge of our spiritual relationship with Krishna. And the instructing spiritual master is said to be the representative of Govinda, who's in charge of Abhideya, or the activities by which we awaken our love for Krishna, which is basically the process of devotional service, the 9 different items of devotional service. And the Guru tells us how to perform this devotional service. So in our Hare Krishna movement, Srila Prabhupada has given us so many instructions. Like he's told us to go to Mangalarati, he's told us to hear Srimad Bhagavatam class, he's told us to study Bhagavad Gita, he told us to go on Harinam Sankirtan, he told us to distribute literature, to serve the deity, to cook for the deity, clean the temple. Every morning we sing the Shri Vigrahara Dhananitinana Shingartan Mandira Marjanado. So Mandir Marjanada means cleanse the temple. Yeah. Shingara means like decorating the deities. So the instructing guru tells us of the different items of devotional service that we can perform by which we become purified, and the love which is already in our heart becomes awakened. Prabhupada, I'd like to quote that verse, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadyukabunai Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karya Udai, which is also from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So it's Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema. Love of Godhead is eternally established in the heart. We actually already love Krishna. We're just disconnected from that awareness of that love. Sadyukabunaya, it's not something to be gained from outside. It's not like the Guru gives you his love of Krishna, or he takes love of Krishna from somewhere else and gives it to you. But he gives you the process by which your own love of Krishna awakens. And he gives you his merciful blessings for success. Shravanadi Shuddhachitte, when one engages in devotional service, beginning with hearing, Shravanadi, Shuddhachitte, one's consciousness becomes purified, and Karya Udaya, that love which is already there, becomes manifest. So if we do the sadhana properly, then we engage in bhava bhakti and then ultimately prema bhakti. So it all begins by performing the sadhana under the direction of the instructing guru. So the deal is that Prabhupada explained that when a person is serious enough about self-realization, that Krishna sends the guru. Right? And then by following the guru, one actually comes to realize Krishna. So we should see the guru as Krishna's representative, and therefore we should obey the guru very carefully, thinking Krishna himself is telling me this. Krishna's engaging this personality and telling me what he wants me to do, and therefore whatever my guru tells me to do, I should take really seriously. And I should also serve my guru very seriously, because Krishna is giving me the opportunity to connect with him through the via media of this guru. Prabhupada would use the term via media, like that. Through the medium of the guru, one can see Krishna. And then Krishna accepts our service through the medium of the guru. So actually, we offer the food to our guru, and our guru offers the food to Krishna. So there's a really nice section in the Krishna book where Prabhupada and Krishna talk about the guru and how one gets enlightened. It's in the section where Sudama Brahmana, the class friend of Krishna, goes to see him in Dwarka, and they're remembering their childhood days in the Gurukul. And Krishna is speaking, thus glorifying Gurukul, basically, and the Guru. And he says, if a man is sufficiently educated in student life under the guidance of a proper teacher, his life becomes successful in the future. He can very easily cross over the ocean of nations, and he's not subject to the influence of the illusory energy. My dear friend, everyone should consider his father to be his first teacher, because by the mercy of one's father, one gets this body. The father is therefore the natural spiritual master. Our next spiritual master is he who initiates us into transcendental knowledge, and he is to be worshipped as much as I am. The spiritual master may be more than one. The spiritual master who instructs the disciple about spiritual masters is called the Shiksha Guru, and the spiritual master who initiates the disciple is called the Diksha Guru. Both of them are my representatives. There may be many spiritual masters who instruct, but the initiator spiritual master is one. A human being who takes advantage of these spiritual masters and receiving proper knowledge from them crosses the ocean of material nescience or existence is to be understood as having properly utilized his human form of life. He has practical knowledge that the ultimate interest of life, which is to be gained only in the human form, is to achieve spiritual perfection and thus be transferred back home, back to Godhead. My dear friend, I am Paramatma, a super soul, residing in everyone's heart. And it's my direct order that human society follow the principles of Varna and Ashram. As I have stated in Bhagavad Gita, human society should be divided into 4 Varnas according to quality and action, not by birth. Similarly, everyone should divide his life into 4 parts. One should utilize the first part in becoming a bona fide student, receiving adequate knowledge, and keeping oneself in the vow of brahmacharya, so one may completely devote his life for the service of the spiritual master without indulging in sense gratification. Brahmacharya is meant to lead a life of austerities and penance. The householder is meant to live a regulated life of sense gratification, but no one should remain a householder for the 3rd stage of life. Jayadvaita Swami likes to talk about how the last duty of the householder is to get out of household life. I went to a Vanaprastha initiation, which he did in Mayapur. It was funny, it was the same day a friend of mine invited me to his marriage. So I was late for the marriage because I was at the Vanaprastha. Because Jayadvaita Swami is my Shiksha Guru, because when I was Bhakta Krsna, he was giving, in 55th Street, he was giving the evening class on Bhagavad Gita. He would also give we had 2 Sunday feast lectures, like we do here actually. One for the people who were more interested, and Jayadvaita Swami gave that lecture, and the Bhaktas would serve prasadam to Jayadvaita Swami and the interested people. And we thought that Krishna was really blessing us with this amazingly ecstatic engagement. So, so the Vanaprastha is, because household life is so entangling that they spend 25 years getting entangled, and then the next 25 years to getting unentangled. And they're back where they started from, hopefully with a lot of realization. And then they can go on with sannyas, which is more like upgraded brahmacharya life. So at any rate, then after that, in that stage, the 3rd stage, one has to return to the austerities and penances formerly practiced in brahmacharya life, and thus relieve himself of the attachment to household life. After being relieved of his attachment to the materialistic way of life, one may accept the order of sannyas. It doesn't say one has to, but it says one can. As the super soul of the living entities, I sit in everyone's heart and observe everyone's activity at every stage and order of life. Regardless of what stage one is in, when I see that one is engaged seriously and sincerely in discharging the duties ordered by the spiritual master, and thus dedicating his life to the service of the spiritual master, that person becomes most dear to me. So here Krishna confirms that simply by pleasing the spiritual master, we can please him, as we chant every morning. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadam nagati kutopi. So, continuing with the points made in the purport here, I think, did I finish them all? Actually, I might have finished them all. So that's from chapter 80, that nice section is from chapter 80 of the Krishna book, if you want to use it in your own Bhagavatam class in the future, or use it to answer people's questions. So basically, the Guru is very important because he's Krishna's representative, and therefore we have to be very obedient to the Guru, just as we should be very obedient to Krishna, and we'll attain all perfection. I remember from reading the Bhagavatam, there was one king named Sagar Maharaj, and when he had different instances in his life, he would always consult his Guru, and at the end of life, it said Sagar Maharaj went back to Godhead. Because we have different, we may change our ashram, we may change our service, we may change our Prabhu Desh, our place of performing devotional service, but we should do all this under the guidance of the Guru. Actually, there's one brahmachari named Upananda. He's a disciple of Prabhupada who since took sannyas in the Gaudiya Math. But he was a friend of mine I knew from San Diego. He was a brahmachari, and then people get married at a certain point. Some of his friends were getting married, and he was like, maybe I should get married. So he put on white, and then the Prabhupada came through and said, Who told you to get married? And, so he went back to wearing saffron, and he wore saffron the rest of his life. So basically, we should consult the Guru. I mean, it's impractical, perhaps, to consult the Guru with every single little decision in our life, but the big decisions like what ashram we're going to be in, or what service we're going to do, or where we're going to live, we should always consult our Guru and take his advice seriously, and then at the end of life we'll go back to Godhead, just because Krishna appreciates us accepting the Guru as his representative. Does anybody have any questions or comments or realizations about the value of the Guru? Or yes. You can wait for the people online, and in the future when people tune into our YouTube channel.
My question is that it's a very powerful statement that the Shiksha Guru is Krishna himself.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that especially a lot of us here are giving classes, and we're trying to preach, and we're trying to reach people, and we are giving Srila Prabhupada's instructions to others. So I was wondering, even for someone like me who has so many faults and is definitely not really even a devotee, is it still true that Krishna manifests himself when we're giving instructions to others?
Well, we should always try to, when we instruct people, we should always instruct things from our authorities, Guru, Sadhana, and Shastra. We shouldn't make up anything, especially when we're giving Bhagavatam class, but even when we're just telling people things, because Krishna wants to use us to enlighten society, actually. There's one purport I was reading where Prabhupada wants us to all become pure devotees so that by our mercy everyone will be transferred back to Godhead. So we said, so if we're completely pure in heart, then we would be the perfect instrument. And until then, we always try to act. We always give the instructions that we've heard from authorities. And it's good for people if we're repeating Krishna's instructions to them, or our Guru's instructions, or the saints' instructions to them. It's good for them to accept that as coming from Krishna, and follow it, and then they'll get the benefit. So it's also described that I was reading on Bhaktivinoda Thakur's appearance day. I was reading a collection of quotes I had from him, and he was talking about how what one shouldn't preach until he's, at least on the madhyama level. He shouldn't be a neophyte in preaching because he won't actually. Because we have to be able to identify who's innocent and who's inimical and who's a devotee. And if we get it wrong, then we can create a lot of trouble for ourselves and everybody else. So we can be servants of the preachers. We can assist the preachers in their service. But it's very important that if people ask us questions, that we answer it with citing some spiritual authority, and then they'll get the benefit of pure knowledge. And Prabhupada was very encouraging that he said that if you just speak what Krishna speaks, then you're a guru. Just like if you're working under an expert carpenter and he tells you to turn the screw this way and you turn the screw that way, you're perfect. Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to make a comment, and then Narad Muni had something. When we're talking about the different 4 stages, if we read into it a little bit, the different varnas are capable to take different ashrams. Like a Shudra he'll just get married and that's it. They won't even have brahmachari. But then the Vaishya can have a brahmachari life and then have a grihastha life. The Kshatriya then has the Vanaprastha life, and the Brahmin would have all 4. So according to someone's, like, whatever gunas that they're in, I mean, of course, it's Daivi Varnashram, it's supposed to be leading towards and mixed with devotional service and, permeated with pure devotional service. So any Vaishnav can really take the part of any Varna or any ashram, but when is mixed devotional service and it is mixed heavily with the modes, then generally that's one of the reasons why we don't see everyone taking Vanaprastha. Jayadvaita Maharaj famously quips all the time, it's the forgotten ashram. And so it's true that it's a forgotten ashram, and there's definitely, as a society, things we can do to help bring that and encourage it in the next coming, generations as the current grihastas are getting older. But we should also keep in mind that it's like, it's going to only be a certain percentage of the people, whatever people will be either Kshatriyas or Brahmins that are on their way to sannyas would actually take Vanaprastha. And it's actually okay that some are going to be married until they die, or, yeah. That's what I have.
Thank you for that comment.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. This question just popped to my mind because you mentioned about also going out and preaching, and I was thinking of Lord Nityananda, and I was also relating to one of the offenses to the holy name, which is to spread the glories of the holy name to the faithless.
Right.
But Lord Nityananda was quite adamant on going out of his way to do that, and part of the disciple. The duty of the disciple is to understand the mission of the spiritual master and to serve that mission. And so I'm wondering, what does it actually mean to preach the holy name to the faithless? Because it's in one way, it's quite a big aspect of what we're doing. I mean, we're going out every day in New York City, which is pretty much the heart of the material universe, one could say. So what exactly does it mean to preach to the faithless, to preach the glories of the holy name?
Well, if you're, I was just preaching the glories of the holy name of the faithless yesterday, or last week. I know this Hindu lady said, why are you guys proselytizing? Because there's a certain group of Hindus who think that proselytizing is anti-Hindu. So I said that everyone who hears the holy name, their karma is reduced and they make progress spiritually. And she didn't believe it. So if I kept pushing the point, then she would just keep, blaspheming the holy name. So I just let her go. I said, I said that she had no faith in the holy name, and she walked away, and that was that. But if I kept, hammering glorifying the holy name in her presence when I knew she obviously didn't have any, So if you're preaching to someone and there's like resistance, you can see that, that they're becoming angry. Like there's like, we were singing in Munich, there was like a plaza in front of a train station, then there was a road, and then there was a row of buildings. This guy came down from his office, he crossed the road, he crossed the plaza, and said, "Stop that, the more I hear it, the more angry I become." So if we preached to him about the glories of the holy name, he would become even more angry. So it said that if you give a fool good instruction, they become angry. So if we're in the course of presenting Krishna consciousness, if the people are becoming angry, then we know, okay, here's a cookie, have a nice day or something. We don't push it further. But we're chanting, and sometimes we do Harinam in a certain place, and then the people complain about it, so we just go to another place, But if we stay there, then they'll just get more and more, angry. So because the faithless people, they create more aparadhs if you continue to preach to them. So the best thing is to stop preaching as soon as you can. And then they create fewer aparadhs, and then you both come out ahead, So you have to be able to discriminate whether they're innocent or whether they're demoniac, And Prabhupada considered the vast majority of the people are innocent. There's a few demoniac leaders, but most people are actually innocent. But you can usually find out pretty soon whether if they're really demonic, it'll come out. So those people, but we're meant to chant the. There's a really nice section in my recent blog, which is a quote by Srila Prabhupada from a purport about the chanting of the holy name. And let me just find it here. But it's very impressive, actually. Here we are. So this in the fourth canto, this Mars Barishat was performing yagya, and Prabhupada decided to talk about yagya in the purport. At the present moment, there is a similar need to perform Sankirtan yagya all over the world. The Krishna consciousness movement has started performing Sankirtan yagya in different places. And it has been experienced that whenever Sankirtan yagya is performed, many thousands of people gather and take part in it. Well, there were some places, like he chanted at one Ohio State University into a whole auditorium of people who did. Yeah, you know better? Yeah. You've been there, huh? Yeah. Yeah, so that's maybe he was thinking of that, because that was the most popular one, I think. Imperceptible auspiciousness achieved in this connection should be continued all over the world, so much that all the people in the world will either jokingly or seriously chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I put a video of Mahavishnu Swami chanting in the barbershop on the Hare Krishna official humor conference, and people complained that it was too silly, But actually, the people he got the guy who was sitting in the chair being shaved, to chant the mantra 2 words at a time. And the guy was complaining, protesting on my post that it wasn't the proper way to present. But the actual, no one was upset. They were all smiling and saying the mantra. And it was like, so here Prabhupada is saying, so that all the people of the world will either jokingly or seriously chant Hare Krishna, and thus will derive the benefit of cleansing the heart. The holy name of the Lord, Harinam, is so powerful that whether it's chanted jokingly or seriously, the effect of vibrating this transcendental sound will be equally distributed. It is not possible at the present moment to perform repeated yagyas as Mars Barishat performed, but it is within our means to perform a Sankirtan yagya, which does not cost anything. One can sit down anywhere and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. If the surface of the globe is overflooded with the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, the people of the world will be very, very happy. So this is our Shiksha Guru, who's non-different than Lord Krishna speaking. Yeah. So the people will become pious by hearing the holy name, and it's only when people start becoming angry that we have to stop and go to another location. But it's so powerful. One time we were at a rave concert near Miami, and we had permission to be a vendor, and we had a booth, and we had incense and different Indian things, and we had books, and we had a little kirtan party in front of our booth. And the person with the booth next to us thought our kirtan party was blocking traffic to his booth. So he came over and said, "Do you have permission to be here? I'm going to get the manager." So he got the manager, and the manager told us to move back a little bit. And then we kept singing, and we sang for like 2 more hours, And then the guy came to everyone in the party, with folded hands and apologized for his previous behavior. And all we did was chat for two more hours. So it's purifying, and even like that, even in one sitting, it's people by the end of hearing it. And there's one girl yesterday, she listened to us for 3.5 hours. Yeah. So as long as the people aren't becoming visibly demoniac, then we're all right with our preaching. But as soon as they, start blaspheming, or then we have to say goodbye in a nice way and try to, Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Have a good day. Here, take this cookie. We have 3 minutes and a little bit more. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, thank you for the class. I was wondering if you could, something that was really interesting in the beginning, you were talking about people hear the inner prompting of God, or people think that they're hearing the voice of God in their heart, and then they get confused. And I grew up around Christians, so Christians have a very common tendency to always think that they're hearing the voice of God, and that everything that they're doing is being prompted by God within their heart, because they understand that God is in the heart. But at the same time, we also understand that we're not pure enough to hear the voice of God within our heart. Right. So sometimes, where is that inner prompting coming from, especially when we think it is God? And also, surely it can't always be a mistake, because such an inner prompting most of the time led us to come to Krishna consciousness. We had such an experience, and we felt like God was, telling us something, and then it ended up that we came to Krishna consciousness, so something had to be there.
Yeah. That's to show our past piety. We got some true inner guidance, and if we are sufficiently sincere, the more sincere we are, the better guidance Krishna gives us. Basically, it says, "To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me." So the more we have that attitude, the better guidance we get. But that's why Prabhupada said that one should consult with the spiritual master when feels some prompting, and if the Guru is not present with the other sadhus, so one can verify that it actually is the super soul, not one's mind. Because the Arjuna asked the question, why is somebody engaged in doing sinful activities as if by force, That's also prompted from within the heart, But that's prompted by the mode of passion, lust, So, we should consider, when we get some inner prompting, we should consider it may be Krishnas. Especially like Prabhupada, he said like his guru came many times to tell him to take sannyas. So that was obvious, many times. So like if you're prompted the same time, many times, maybe that. So you should consult with the senior devotees who are very fixed in their service to the mission and the Lord and their guru. And if many devotees tell you the same thing, you could take it as Krishna's mercy. One time there was 35 years ago, there was one girl who wanted to marry me, and I was thinking of going along with it. And then when I was chanting japa, and 3 different devotees came up to me and said, I think it would be really bad for you to marry that girl. So I thought, this is Krishna speaking through, because it was several people, and wow, So, but it's powerful when several, devotees tell you the same thing. You can see it's like, Krishna giving you some. Sometimes they warn us about, doing something, or they advise us positively to do something. So we should get hear from the devotees about to confirm our intuition from the Super Soul, because we're performing devotional service, he often does give us good guidance. And now it's like, formerly we might have been better off not following the voice from within, and later, as we advance, we're better off following. It is Krishna most of the time, and whereas in the beginning it's Maya most of the time. Yeah. Well, it's 1 minute after. I'm sorry to delay your rasa with Krishna in his form of Mahaprasad. Thank you for your extended attention. It's Divine Grace. A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samveda Bhaktivinoda Ki. Shri Radha Govinda Maha Bhagavat Prasad Ki Jai. Gaur Premanand. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.